What's up, you guys? Welcome back. It's Mr. Eddie Barber, and I'm back with another detailed, in-depth tutorial showing you guys how to do a hard part. In some situations you can do it like this, in other situations, well, it's always changing. So you'll notice that I've done a lot of writing on this board already, and I'm gonna explain this in as much detail as I possibly can. So let's get right into it. My process, how I do things, how I break things down to help you get your game on track and get your fade game up and just make things easier for you and really explain stuff and not just show you a bunch of stuff. As you watch the tutorials, you'll notice that if you deploy the stuff that I'm telling you, you're gonna get better and you're gonna start to improve. So that's probably why you're watching, so let's just get into it. All right, I'm gonna begin this cut simply by taking the number 2. I'm gonna bring it right up to that top of that line. I want that hard part. I want all that hair knocked down, and we're gonna go through and we're just gonna use the debulking tool. So I'm using the Volt. As you guys know, I always use the Detachable to start my fades, and that's really the thing that speeds up my process. So if some of you guys are watching this in an effort to try to speed up your time, definitely look in that area. If you're still skinning people with your trimmer, yo, dude, you're living in like 1995, all right? So let's get to the game and let's get this thing down with the 5-0 line. We're gonna use that on the Detachable, and we're not gonna beat up our trimmers. Our trimmers are gonna stay sharp so that when we do our lineups and when we do our work, it's gonna be easy and it's gonna be clean. So, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use some clipper over comb. That's why when you look at this here fade scale, you're gonna notice at the top that it stops at a number 2. So, because above a number 2, we're gonna use clipper over comb. And that's why it's just so important to learn how to fade from skin up to that number 2. And we are simply going to do just that. So, skin 5-0, and we're gonna go up to the number 2. So we're gonna begin with the 5-0 line. I'm just gonna go around. What I actually like to do, like a quick tip here, something that's gonna help you is going to be, what I like to do is start on one side of the head, work it back to the occipital bone, then jump back to the other side of the head. You're gonna find that that's gonna be a whole lot easier to make sure that you're keeping your hair proportionate. You're not too high on one side, too low on the other. You don't want to start off wrong to begin with, right? So we want to make sure that we're starting off right to begin with. And what I do is I don't try to take it all the way around the back side of the head. I just go on one side, take the occipital bone, one side, take the occipital bone, take a quick little peek in the front, make sure it's all even. If not, bring one side up and yeah, just keep it moving. So you're gonna find it's really easy to match those sides in the back that way, and we can follow up and do any trimmer work that you might need to do around the ears just to clean up any long hairs that were around the ears, because the Detachables are big, they're bulky, and sometimes you can't get them in those small spaces. So we're gonna use the tool that makes the most sense for the job. Now, we're beginning with our electric shaver. I got a little bone to pick with people about how they use the electric shaver. Some people will take that electric shaver and they're gonna run it straight into that line. We don't wanna take it straight into that line. In fact, we wanna start reducing tension. So let's say that this is the 5-0 line. We want to start reducing tension and easing our way into that line. But we want to take this down the skin. And as we get close to that line, start reducing tension, flicking out, and we want to make sure that our blend is perfectly smooth from skin to the 5-0. Now, a lot of people ask me, hey Ed, do you fade up? Do you fade down? What do you do? What's the mystery? How do I improve? All this, that, the third. Well, I'm going to tell you. We're going to take all the mystery out of this thing right here and right now. What I like to do is I like to start from skin, right? So you just see me put in the 5-0 line. So I got the 5-0 line, I come underneath it and I skin it. So these are gonna be the in-between steps, and you're gonna see the way that begins to play out. But really, each one of these is a step. So close taper, open taper, that's gonna be a step. 0.5, 0.5 close, 0.5 open, that's gonna be a step. 1 open, 1 close, that's gonna be a step. 1.5 open, 1.5 close, that is also gonna be a step. So we're gonna begin by beginning this next step. This is the step right here, and it's gonna be open taper at the top and 5-0 line at the bottom. So in order to blend out this open taper line, we're gonna set in this next guideline just simply with the open taper. So once we begin with that open taper, you're gonna see this whole process start to unfold. And if you're using the caliber clippers, you're gonna find it really easy because they have the clicks. Sometimes I like to just set in that line and make sure that, you know, my parameters are all defined. But all right, if you're using the caliper clippers, these things have the clicks. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna set in my line real quick for the hard part, because I wanna make sure that I keep that distinct. I wanna keep some of that weight towards the top, because I don't wanna just blend him all the way off the face of the earth here and have nothing to fade into afterwards. So I'm just gonna go through, and remember, there's two sides to a hard part. So a lot of people will take the time to cut that one side of the line, make it all perfect, make it all fresh, but you're gonna have to go back up, turn it upside down, go back through, and make that line perfect. So now we're gonna begin. I'm using the 357 Magnums, but I'm gonna begin that process that we started talking about earlier. We're gonna begin by setting in that open taper line. And if I just show you right here on the in-between steps, you're gonna see that I begin with it wide open, all the way to the open taper line. Now, I have the 5-0 line down here. I'm not gonna concentrate on that right now. What I need to concentrate on is staying just below that after I make this first click. So one click, I'm gonna stay just below that line, and I'm gonna work relatively in this area. So that's one click down. Keeping it flat, keeping it flat. So important here. You see this blade is curved? I need to keep it flat. So flat is not gonna be here, flat is not gonna be here. It's gonna be here, keeping it on the head, maintaining good pressure, and we're gonna work in a crisscross kind of pattern. So that's why I'm always keeping it angled. It's always crisscrossing. It's always working back and forth. And as I'm done with that part, I'll click it one more time. Just singly one click will do. And I'll stay just below where I went with that click. You're gonna notice that this line will start to dissipate, but that's not where we're working. We want to create that nice taper. So I'm gonna continue clicking, one click down, moving it down, one more click, moving it down, and staying just below where I went. So obviously I'm just blowing up. This is just a big showing of what I'm doing. I'm blowing it up real big so that you can see it, but it's very easy to kind of follow what I'm doing here in this scenario. And you're gonna see that this 5-0 line will just disappear. If this line does not disappear, it's imperative that you run back to your trimmer. You wanna make sure you go back before you go forward, and you wanna be thorough. Nine times out of 10, the most mistakes that I see is most people are not holding it flat. But we're gonna begin with this next step with the number 1, and I'm simply gonna repeat the process. So this 5-0 skin 0 open taper, we're done with that, man. That's all clean, it's all perfect. People ask me all the time, Ed, what do you do when you do your cleanup work? Can you show me how you use your corners, how you do this? Well, I really don't have a whole lot of cleanup work. As you watch me cut, you see that I'm thorough. And I'll make sure that you be thorough too. It'll be a lot easier for you. So we're gonna jump up to this next step. We're actually gonna skip the half guard, and we're gonna jump up to the number 1. So this is what changes now. This is all that changes. This is a 1 open at the top. 1 open at the top. And this is a 1 closed at the bottom. And we're gonna repeat the exact same process. Clipper there, all the way in the open position. That's where that line begins. And you're gonna see that's not really gonna create much of a line. That's gonna really deteriorate most of your line. And you're gonna see like 90% of it is gonna disappear. And you're gonna be in good shape before you know it. So once this is all clean, we can return back to that half. So we've now finished off this, and all we have left is a small amount of residual, 0.5 open, 0.5 closed. So we'll begin with 0.5 open, 0.5 closed, and you're gonna notice that there's not gonna be a whole lot to do here. There's just gonna be a small amount of residual, but again, we'll begin with the exact same process, beginning with it open, and working it towards the top and slowly, gradually closing it. Now this is the spot that you want to be careful in. You want to make sure that you're not overdoing it, because it's very easy with the half guard on to cut a little bit too high. Now I've found that these clippers cut very consistent, and I really don't run into too many issues with them, but I have run into some issues with previous clippers in the past. Whenever I put the half guard on, it just seems like they don't cut well, and you run into some funny issues where all of a sudden it's not cutting, and then boom, it cuts great. And you're like, holy crap, I just cut like a spot in that hair. Not that I ever make mistakes, because I'm Mr. Eddie Barber, right? But listen, everybody makes mistakes. Stuff happens when you fade, when you blend, and you need to know how to work with it. But no great mistake should really be happening to the point where you can't fix it. That's a serious mistake. That's something you definitely need to avoid. So again, I'm on this other side, and I'm just repeating the exact same process. I'm using the trimmer, and make sure that you step back before you step forward. And then we're just gonna do this reverse blend here into the beard, which this is the exact same thing. Like, a lot of people ask me about, like, can you do a video about the beard? All it is the same thing in reverse. Begin with your open taper, and close it towards the top. So it's working this entire process towards the top. So just to show you what that might look like, if I had a beard here, which I'll try to draw. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty good for a beard, right? I could just begin with open taper right here, and I'll wipe out all this hair. I'll begin closing it, closing it, closing it until it's fully closed at the top. And you're gonna see that this is gonna blend right down into this beard. And if need be, you might have to jump to an open one or an open half to blend it in, depending on the length that you're moving into. But on the whole, you're not gonna struggle with that too much. You're gonna have to experiment around with that, and you'll get good at that before you know it. So now that we've actually finished off the whole process, in this case, I didn't actually have to go up to the 1.5, but it is worth mentioning because there's gonna be times where you're gonna have to go up to the 1.5. It depends on what the length is. But in this case, this kid's hair blended, we had it blended smooth. We didn't really need to do that. And on that side, I began with the 1.5. So I'm not gonna have to go 1.5, 2, and all that other stuff. I'm not gonna have to worry about that. Now, theoretically speaking, if I was to shave someone's entire head with a number 2, what could I take into a number 2 that will not create a line? The answer is a 1.5 open. Okay, and if I was to shave just below where I went on the top, I would actually have a 1.5 open to a 2, and there'd be no line. But what could I take into that? A 1.5 closed. Because the gap is so small, the jump is so small that you're gonna easily be able to get from them steps. And you can keep stepping down on the fade scale while one open, one closed. However, as soon as you get down to skin, that's when the trouble starts. So if you are struggling, there's probably a pretty good chance that you really need to work on this area here. From skin to about a number 1. From skin to a number 1, that's when you have to break it down into sub-steps where moving your lever halfway is not gonna be enough. There's probably gonna be several moves with your lever that you're gonna have to make. That's why these clippers break it up pretty easy. The 357 has 4 settings, and the 50 cal has 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, it has 5 settings, and you know it makes this process kind of easy to convey to you because I can say 1 click down instead of just tap your lever. Because you guys have asked me many times, can you make a video where you show every lever move? Well, in a way, this is kind of it. You can kind of see every lever move that I made. I made it a point to stop, turn it towards the camera, and tap that lever. Now, all I'm really gonna do with the rest of this haircut is we need to cut the top. So we should talk about the top pattern and the way that I do it. So now that the fade is done and the blend is good, we're just finishing it off in the back. And let's just talk about the top of the head. The way that I do scissor work. So if I was to take a section on the top of the head, the Mohawk section, which is what you see me take all the time. Let's make this bigger. All right, if I was to take a Mohawk section on the top of the head, all right, any hair that I brought up afterwards would be longer, right? It'd be longer. And if I was to look at a top view, so this would be a front view, and if I was to look at a top view, what you would basically see is sort of something like this. These would be the sections that I'm working in. So after I'm done fixing them up with the straight razor, making sure that line's on point, making sure his edge is good, I'm gonna have to address this. So if I turn him sideways, side view, you're gonna see me hold the Mohawk fade, hold the Mohawk up, and once I hold the Mohawk section up, I can just decide how much I want it to come off. All right, and this is a 90-degree cut. What does that mean? That means that I'm holding it straight out from where it grows. So no matter where it's growing, it's going straight out from where it grows. So all I really need to do is decide how much I want to take off in this section, and then I'm gonna work. So that's this section, done, cut. Now beside this section, I'm gonna hold up a small amount of hair, and I'm gonna move back in very small increments, no wider than your comb, otherwise you're gonna get big fat lines afterwards when you dry it. I'm sure some of you guys seen it, some of you know what I'm talking about, but it's really important that you take very small sections. So all I'm gonna do, I'm really only focused on this hair right here, and I'm gonna work through it. I'm gonna cut that, take my next section. Cut that, take my next section. So little by little, I'm actually only working right here, all the way through, and I'm gonna begin cutting all that out. Next step, I'm gonna jump over to this side. Take this section, cut it. Take this section, cut it. And I'm gonna extend this until this begins to show the exact same shape as the scalp. So your fingers need to maintain the position. They need to maintain the position of the scalp. And they need to maintain 90 degrees. A lot of problems that you see with a Mohawk fade or with a hard part, a lot of times you see this problem where you'll have this like gigantic amount of weight right here, and then the rest of it's not so weighty because they blend it in on this side. So really when you hold it up, it's not uncommon to see a hard part, the top of the hair be cut so bad that it's like this. And that's what's creating that high volume of weight right there, and you definitely want to avoid that. So in order to avoid that, you're going to want to make sure that you're following your 90-degree haircut properly, and that you're cutting the top properly. Because so many people want to concentrate on fades, and they don't want to concentrate on the stuff that matters. Because like, believe it or not, like if you're really going to get into this thing, you're going to wind up needing more than just a fade. There's a lot of haircuts out there, and you're going to have to learn them all. So you just got to take your time. So I've sped this up. I've made it a little bit faster. You see me taking my Mohawk section. Now I'm working out just to the left of it. And I'm just gonna stay in that little section. I'm taking very small sections back. It's a great time to have a taper comb in your hand or something with small, fine teeth, so you can be really precise and you really step through your process carefully, and you actually have a process and you stick to it. I've seen a lot of barbers out here that just start hacking away at the top because the client asks for scissors, they have no idea what they're doing, and they're just whacking away at it. And I'm just urging you guys to develop a system and stick to it. It's just gonna make your life a whole lot easier. You're gonna struggle a whole lot more if you don't have a system in place to deal with that. And especially towards the front here, remember, we wanna maintain 90 degrees. So if you notice that there's a curvature in this scalp, so 90 degrees is not holding it this way and directing the hair off of its base. It's gonna be longer when it comes through. How many clients have you picked up and found that their bangs were way longer than the rest? Well, a lot of times that's by design, but a lot of times it's actually by mistake because they're incidentally over directing it. So if the hair is coming off the front of the head, you might even need to direct it slightly forward to maintain the same shape as the scalp. Because remember, 90 degrees is the exact same shape as the scalp. And once we've finished the top and we've cut the top properly, we can go through with some scissor over comb on the side, the blend side, and we can just even that out, make that nice, and make that happen. So I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna edge them up with the straight razor. Just make sure that you prepare the skin properly. Make sure that you take the time to put some kind of shave gel or shave cream or something. It's helpful to have a product that you can see through, and just go ahead and use something like that. I'm gonna use my tip, I'm gonna use my heel, and that's how I'm kind of making those lines. It can be very difficult at certain lengths to make perfect lines in the hair. So, it's just so important that your blades are sharp and that you've taken the time to prepare the skin, because if your blades are not sharp and you haven't taken that time, you're gonna have to push a little bit harder, you're gonna struggle a little bit more, and the chances of you making a mistake or cutting him are gonna go up. They're gonna go through the roof. So we definitely don't want that to happen. And we'll come through here and we're just gonna blend this right into the hair. And if you notice that I did the skin slightly behind the front of the edge, it's pretty commonplace. Everybody kind of sees this now. Everybody kind of knows how this goes now. But yeah, the reason why I never skinned him right in here was because I wanted that beard to be able to blend good with the haircut, and I didn't want that to be like completely missing in that front area, because that's kind of the way that he likes it. And yeah, of course, a barber's job is also to take care of the eyebrows. I know I was blabbing about the top cut when we were doing that. But yeah, you're gonna have to use all your strokes. If you notice, I use like a reverse backhand on the other side of the eyebrows. It's just something I've been doing for a long time. And for some of you guys, it might feel uncomfortable. So get comfortable with the straight razor. Learn all your steps. I love to go against the grain, especially at the top of the line, to give that client possibly an extra day of looking fresh and making me look good for an extra day too. Because if he goes out tonight and people notice that his haircut looks good, and even the next day, something like that. That's why I advise you guys not to cut into the interior of your client's hair too much. And yeah, we're gonna clean up the top of his lip. We're just gonna push back some of that hair that's on the top of the lip. and get that out of the way. Shave him under the neck, and yeah, he's gonna be good to go. So take your time and take your clients, each one of them, make them look really good, really go all out for all of them, and you're really gonna grow your business. You're gonna build it like so fast because so many people are just rushing people out, getting people out the road. And when you really think about it, it's senseless because that's your advertisement. You know, your advertisement is those haircuts. It's running around, and the fact that you went the extra mile, people are gonna see that, man, and they're gonna build that business. So far, I've been really fortunate, really lucky in my shop. It's been growing really fast, and you know, things are starting to shape up. So I'd like to also do a quick shout out to the Caliber Clipper Company, man, for sending me all this stuff and looking out for me. Really cool of them to do that, and you know, to show a little bit of love to the channel. So anybody out there who's looking to buy any of these clippers, maybe the 50 cal, maybe the 357, I give you my word, man, these clippers are good, man. They're not trash. A lot of people out there talking trash about them, whatever, man. Like, I made the move on my station. Like, it isn't just because they sent them to me. Like, I unplugged everything from my station. So currently my station has the 38 special trimmer, the 357, and the 50 cal. And I'll tell you what, man, these things all cut good. They all have a good purpose, and they have made my job easier, and even making the blend a little bit easier and more consistent, using the clicks and doing that kind of thing. But the blade on the 50 cal is really something special. It really kind of just destroys these skin lines. I find myself, when I use the 50 cal, almost never needing to go back with the trimmer the way that I used to with many of my other clippers. And thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Subscribe if you haven't already, man. This is a resource for you. I'm gonna keep bringing these videos to you, and anything that I left out, please leave it in the comments. I'll try to get back to you. I'll try to answer you. And if any video ideas that you guys are thinking up, some stuff you wanna see, please let me know, and I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you in another video. Peace. If you guys are interested in any of the equipment you see me using in this video, you can head over to caliberprocorp.com. Go ahead and select what you want, check out their stuff, and when you're ready to check out, you're gonna go to that little discount code and you're gonna type the word EDDIE, E-D-D-I-E. That'll give you 15% off plus free shipping on orders over $50 domestic. So thank you guys so much again for watching my channel, and I'll catch you guys in another video. I'm out.